Hey guys, what is up? We got another great episode. Well, I can't really say great. It was good. We got another good episode of Daredevil Born Again, episode 3, The Hollow of His Hand. And before we actually get into the episode, I think we just need to talk about the viewership. Because when Agatha All Along came out, and I'm just going to use Agatha All Along as an example. When Agatha All Along came out, it had a 9.5 million viewership for the first week. And I haven't gone to look and compare all the viewership of all the different shows. But Daredevil was at a 7.5, which means it lost viewership. It lost about 2 million viewers. And I think Disney really needs to start asking the question of why. Now, Agatha deals with witches. Daredevil deals with a crime-fighting vigilante. Maybe that's why. But the target demographic should actually be more towards Daredevil than any of these other characters. And I think this is not a Daredevil problem. I think this is a Marvel problem. And I think Marvel has set up a path for failure when it comes to Daredevil. And what's a shame is it has nothing to do with it. And we can only hope that basically that Daredevil does well enough for viewership that people come and check it out. And that's all I'm going to hit on with that, but I just wanted to mention that because I think it is important to note. And I think there's a lot of reasons why the viewership is bad, but like I said, I don't think it has really anything to do with Daredevil itself. But I think that Marvel needs to earn the audience's trust back. And I think it's fair to leave that there, but Marvel's got work to do, and I just hope that people go and give Daredevil a shot because I think it deserves it. Now, do I think this series has been great so far? Like the past Daredevil series? No. This doesn't compare to the other Daredevil series at the moment. But it might. And right now, every episode has been good, which is better than what Marvel personally, in my opinion, besides X-Men 97, it is better than anything Marvel's been putting out besides X-Men 97. But X-Men 97 is a high bar. X-Men 97 was, besides maybe the first 2 episodes were just good or fine, after that, X-Men 97 was great. Every episode was great. So we'll see if Daredevil starts to go the route of X-Men, and hopefully more viewers will start to appear. Because I know we hear 7.5 million, you think, wow, that's a lot of people. But in the scheme of things, when it comes to television, when it comes to these things like Daredevil, how much a Daredevil show probably cost, it needs to be more. Personally, it needs to be more. But one other thing before, and it starts to get into the show, but it's just something I want to mention about a particular actor who's no longer with us. Camar de los Reyes. His passing, I just want to give my condolences to his family and just say how much I enjoyed him the last 2 episodes, or the last 3 episodes of this show. I thought he did a really good job. And, for you guys who, find his passing to be very sad and want to remember him after this show is done, I looked it up. He has something else that he will be a part of called Washington Black. It's going to be a mini-series. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't know where it's coming out. I know it's in post-production right now. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys, that if you really appreciated the work he did in this series, that, there's going to be something else with him in it. And it is a shame that he was going through cancer while he was filming this show. It kind of reminds me of a Chadwick Boseman kind of situation, to be honest, where, he keeps it to himself. He just does the work. He does a good job, but he's actually going through a really hard time. And there's something really admirable about someone who chooses to do the thing they love, even when they're going through something that hard. And so I just want to give, again, condolences out to his family and just share how much I appreciated him in this show. Because he's been given some of the best stuff. Outside of Fisk, outside of Matt, he's probably given the best stuff, even though he hasn't given a lot. The moments where he's talking to Matt in the jail cell, both scenes when he's talking to him about his, remembering, Puerto Rico, and then later on in the episode, which we won't talk about right now. Both things are really good. Both scenes are really good. He did a really good job. And I wish we could have more, which, again, we'll get into something that's going to be a negative that I actually have for this episode. Because I do think we should have seen more of him, not just as an actor, but more of him as White Tiger is something I personally wish we could have seen. Now, I have to admit this, I'm definitely ready for proper episodes. I'm ready for all that past old footage from what the series was going to be. From my understanding, this is it. The third episode was it. And they used the old footage they got. They used it well. And it's been good. It was good. It's been good. Fine to good. But nothing's been great yet. Besides certain moments. And I'm ready for great. There was that fight scene with the cops. That was pretty great at the end. Or really good at least. The fight scene with Bullseye, I would get closer to that great level. You know, I don't know if it compares to the old show, but it's still really, really good. But I have this feeling that we're about to get into something completely different. And I do hope we're getting into an X-Men 97 type range when it comes to the show, where by the fourth episode, we're like, holy crap, what is this show? This is awesome. That's what I'm hoping for, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. Talking about old footage, I think they had to do with what they could, because when it comes to Kingpin and Vanessa, you know, Vanessa was played by a completely different actress. A completely different person played Vanessa. And so for Fisk and Vanessa, I hate the idea that their relationship isn't working very well, because what was so great about the original series was how much they actually loved each other. And yes, Fisk is a terrible person, and I wouldn't talk to him about morals, but I probably would talk to Fisk about relationship advice. And it is kind of a bummer to see that they're not working out right now. And I kind of hate that. That's a bummer to me. I think that kind of sucks. And, you know, their relationship not being in unison is definitely causing problems, because we see that the gangs are having a fallout. And, you know, those scenes were fine, but again, like I said, I want to see Fisk and Vanessa be in a relationship working out. That's something important to me. And even though the gangs are having a fallout, it seems that Fisk has his hands inside the police force, and we're just going to see how that plays out. Now, I'm kind of curious to see if Fisk is actually involved with this new group of guys who are using the Punisher symbol, and maybe going against even some of the things that the Punisher would even stand for. I'm kind of curious how that unfolds and how that even started. But, you know, seeing the police officer confront Matt, I thought was a really good scene. And it definitely plays into some things we'll have to see in the future, how that plays out. But I thought that was a really good scene, because the last episode we saw Matt beat the living snot out of this dude. And it does make you kind of wonder, you know, are some of these corrupt police officers, are they going to be able to find out that someone like Matt, they've already got beat the snot out of by him, is it going to start making them wonder, wait, is this guy the Daredevil? It just kind of makes you wonder, makes you think. But again, talking about things that are just fine. I thought the informant switcheroo is kind of what I wrote in my notes. I thought that was fine, and I think it opens the door for something much greater. You know, we think the informant's going to come into the courthouse. You know, they do all these elaborate things to get him there, and we think, okay, he's going to testify, and he's going to save White Tiger. But he doesn't. And so Matt has to take things in his own hands, and he does it Uno reverse. And he reveals that our defendant is actually White Tiger. And this starts to get into a little bit of my negatives. I thought this was good. I thought this was a good idea. But for me, when he is in the courtroom and people are talking about the things that White Tiger did, I wish they would have done more showing and less telling. And that's just me. I think having these people share their testimonies and actually seeing the powers of the White Tiger, I think would have been really cool. Because guess what? Even with him passing, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, you know, even with him passing, if we could have seen how cool White Tiger is, I think that would have opened the door for the secondary White Tiger, who's in Marvel Comics now, to make an appearance and be interesting. Like, if you wanted to do something with that character, that would be an interesting character to do something with. And it's just kind of a bummer that they didn't set that up well enough. And like I said, I think that I blame that on the people who were doing the old footage and doing the old show. I think I blame that on that previous showrunner, and I don't really blame that on Marvel now. But that's just me. I know they definitely made changes to the Punisher, and I know they added the Punisher elements into the show. So maybe I'm completely wrong. But like I said, I think it would have been cool to see White Tiger's powers and his abilities and what he did for the people that they described in these testimonies. I just think seeing that while they're reading it or talking about it or sharing it would have been a really powerful statement, and it would have been a cool thing to show how much of a hero this guy really was. And I think it would have made us more emotionally impacted by his death that we see later on in the show. And so this works out, right? This bet works out for Matt, and it causes White Tiger, it causes him to win the court case, which is cool. But now Kingpin, who didn't want to see that happen, is now starting to play his chess moves. And one of the best chess moves you can make, and you can see this in history, all through history, is reaching out to the youth, which is what Kingpin chooses to do, where he talks about how much he is against vigilantism. And before we leave that topic, I do kind of want to mention something that was an interesting comparison to me, which is something like Daniel Penny. Now, if you don't know, Daniel Penny, I'm going to pull up something real quick. But Daniel Penny basically protected a bunch of people against a guy named Jordan Neely. And Jordan Neely had a lot of drugs in the system, and, Daniel Penny put him in a chokehold and let him go. But it didn't matter. Eventually, Jordan Neely actually succumbed to the drugs, to all the things happening, and he died, which caused Daniel Penny to get arrested. And he had to go through this long court case because he basically acted as a good Samaritan and took this guy down. And people feel different ways about it. Some people feel like you as a civilian don't have the right to choose what to do to someone else. And that the best thing to do is just to leave them be. And whatever they decide to do, that's on them. But you just need to stay out of it. Which, his actions, I may call that being a good Samaritan. You may call that being a vigilante. And I do think, ironically enough, it's not something that Disney intended. For sure, Disney did not intend to do this. But I do think there's a comparison there. And it is kind of interesting to me personally. Of like a real life situation in New York and how that would play into a show, the commentary, accidental commentary that this show brought to that. And so there's, ironically enough, a lot of people, especially in New York, who would probably side with Kingpin when it comes to vigilantes, because they would view, especially the people, the authority, the government, would view someone like a vigilante as someone taking part in something that's not their business to take part in. And so I just thought that was kind of interesting, and it made sense to me in the show, realistically, why this would be an issue. And so, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I just wanted to kind of bring that up real quick. Now, going back to attracting the youth, and if you want to win something, the best thing you can do is get the attention of the youth. And for me, I'm very interested in the relationship that B.B. Ulrich's going to have with Fisk. Now, I think the character is just an okay character right now. We haven't seen what the new writers are really going to probably do with this character. I think it's safe to say that all the footage she's been in is old footage. I think it's fair to say that. I think that's a good guess. But I'm very curious to see what she's going to become. And to be honest, because she is the niece of Ben Urich, I actually find it would be really interesting if she really starts to believe in Fisk and really follows him. And yes, she is this journalist, but maybe to have her go through this process of realizing who Fisk really is, from going to believing in him to not believing in him anymore, I think would be a really interesting thing to do. I don't think they'll go that way, but I think it would be really cool, because I think having a mentorship from someone who murdered your uncle would be a very interesting twist they could do with that character that would make that character more interesting to me. But I don't think they're going to do that, but I wish they would personally. Now, we got to get to the part. This is the thing that was crazy. I knew this was coming. I know a lot of people didn't know this was coming, but I knew this was coming because there was footage of this that was aired that got leaked, which is White Tiger bites the dust. And he doesn't just bite the dust, he bites the dust by the Punisher. Now, I don't actually think this is the Punisher. I think this is going to turn out to be a cop who was wearing the Punisher garb and decide to take the law in his own hands and kill White Tiger. But we're going to have to see the fallout of something like that. We're going to have to see the fallout of police officers acting as the Punisher and how the Punisher feels about something like that. And as you can see, if Kingpin's controlling these police officers, we don't really know yet. We don't know if Kingpin's using these police officers and they're actually just a secret gang that are working for the Kingpin, or if these cops are just really strict vigilantes who are taking the law in their own hands and they're going way too far. And we don't know yet which one's true and which one's not. But if it's true that Kingpin has control of these police officers, then he is ready to play. And he's coming out and he is Kingpin once again. And the question is Punisher next? We're going to have to find out. Because either Punisher was the one that killed him, or Punisher's not going to be too happy that some of these guys are killing and hurting innocent people and using his symbol to do it. But anyway, guys, what were your thoughts? Did you like the show? Is there any interesting tidbits that you would like to share in the comments down below? I would definitely love to check it out and read it. And guys, whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, I hope you're having a good one. Peace.